In the podcast today, I'm going to cover 4 steps you can take to save your marriage during separation. I'm couples therapist Dr. Wyatt. I've been in private practice since 2004, and I've helped over 1,000 couples restore their relationship. Be sure to get my free training on how to move your relationship from surviving to thriving. The link is in the show notes. So we're talking today about how to save your marriage during separation. When you're the recipient of a separation, you don't want the separation. It's happening whether you want it or not. It's a very powerless feeling. And a lot of people feel desperate to restore the relationship, even though they're separated. But how do you do it? Today, I'm going through 4 steps you need to take to maximize the chances of repairing your relationship even during separation. Step number 1 is don't smother your partner. If your partner needs a separation, they need space from you. They don't want you calling every day. They don't want you texting them all the time. They don't want to see you all the time. That's why they want a separation. You've been doing something that's difficult for them. Therefore, they've been fed up, they're frustrated, they're overwhelmed, they need a break from you. So if you smother them with constant contacting them, constant phone calls, constant texting, guess what? That's going to push them further away. Now, it doesn't mean that you ignore them altogether either, but what it does mean is you don't want to smother. You don't want to be overbearing. And you can ask them, how do you like for our contact to look like? How often should I contact you? How often should we see each other? And defer to whatever they say. Don't push for more. Don't tell them that's not enough. Don't tell them you need to see them more often. Don't say that, because then that's going to be smothering. So the first step to not smother them is you want to give them space. And you want them to decide how often they want to get together, not you. The second step is don't push them for timelines. When you're pushing for timelines, you say things like this. Well, how long is this separation going to be? Well, how long before we can get together? Well, how long before you're going to know? That's pushing them for timelines. They probably don't know the answers to those questions. And the more you push them to know those answers, the more you're pushing them away. Because all they know in that moment is they need to get away from you. They need space. They're overwhelmed. They're overloaded because of behaviors you've had. So they need some time to get away. Therefore, they're not going to know how much space they need. They're not going to know when they're going to be ready to try to reconcile. So don't push for timelines. Don't push for dates. Don't push for them to answer those questions, because it's going to feel smothering. And again, that's going to push them further away. So that's the second step. The third step is ask for a list. You need a list on all of the behavior that you need to change for them to give you a second chance. Because like I said, they need a separation because of you, something you have done. Maybe you've had a pattern of chronic neglect. Maybe you have anger issues. Maybe you haven't set proper boundaries with your parents. Who knows? You need to ask them, what are the behaviors I need to be working on? What are the changes you need to see in me? If you had a magic wand and a miracle happened tonight, and I woke up and I was the ideal partner for you, what would be different? You need to ask them those questions. You need to get a list. They may have 1 thing on that list. They may have 3 things on that list. They may have 5 things on the list. But you need to figure out what that list is. You need to ask them for the list, because once you have that list, that gives you a focus. That gives you something to concentrate on. That gives you something to sink your teeth into, because now you see, okay, this is what I need to be working on. And most likely, they have been telling you to make these changes for years. They've been telling you how they're unhappy with these behaviors for a long time, but most likely you've ignored them. Most likely you didn't take them serious. Most likely you just dismissed their concerns and thought, they're never going to leave me. Yeah, they're all talk. They would never walk out the door. Well, guess what? Now they have. Now you're paying attention. Now you care. Now you're motivated. And so you need to have that list of what are the top things that they need to see changed in you before they'll consider giving you a second chance. And that leads me to number 4. You need to master the list. Whatever they have on that list, you need to focus on, how can I improve on these items they want to see different in me? So for example, let's say on that list, they want to see you have better boundaries with your parents because your parents are constantly interfering in your marriage. So you need to find out what that looks like, better boundaries with your parents, and then you need to develop them. You need to work on those boundaries. You need to establish those boundaries. You need to make those changes so that your partner feels hope that you're going to actually enforce those boundaries with your parents, and only then will they feel comfortable to reconcile and to come back. Maybe another item on that list is you need to learn how to nurture your partner emotionally. If that's the case, you need to learn how to do that. What does that mean? What does it look like to nurture them emotionally? Maybe it means carving out quality time. Maybe it means becoming a better active listener. Maybe it means learning to empathize with what they're going through instead of giving them advice. Maybe it means actually putting your phone down and giving them your undivided attention. But if that's on the list, learn to nurture them emotionally. You need to become a master at that. You may need some help. You might need to work with a therapist or a coach or read some books on how to nurture them emotionally. Another example is maybe they say you're a workaholic and you never have time for them. You're always too busy. Well, now you have a lot of time on your hands because you're in a separation. So you need to learn how to not become a workaholic. You need to develop better boundaries. You need to know when to say no to work and how to say yes to downtime. Say yes to self-care. Say yes to boundaries and balance so that you're taking better care of your health, so that you have more time to put into your marriage. So maybe that's something you need to work on. Another example is maybe they put addictions on that list because you have an active addiction and you know it. Maybe you have an issue with substances. You turn to them. You drink more than you should and you know it. You drink in secret and your partner has told you this over and over and over, and it's gone in one ear and out the other, and finally they're fed up. So maybe you need to go to rehab. Maybe you need to get rid of that substance altogether so that you're clean, so that it doesn't get the best of you. By the way, when something has become an addiction, normally the solution is abstinence. Because if you allow yourself to have some of it, it's usually a matter of time before it starts to master you again. So maybe that's you. Maybe you need to receive some help on how to get that substance out of your life. Another example might be your lack of affection. Maybe your partner has told you over and over that they need physical contact. But what have you done? You've dismissed that need. You've ignored that need. You've told them you're not an affectionate kind of person. Well, guess what? Now they're fed up because they have felt chronically neglected and now they've moved out. So do you know what you need to do? You need to learn how to become affectionate. Maybe you need some resources. Maybe you need to do your homework. Maybe you need to work through the block with why you can't provide affectionate touch. Your partner is probably starving for touch. So maybe that's you. And you need to work at how to nurture touch, how to provide affection. Another example is physical intimacy. Maybe your partner has told you over and over how much they need that physical contact, that erotic touch, but you've ignored it. You've neglected it. You've told them that's not your wiring, and so that's not going to happen in your marriage. And now guess what? They've gotten fed up because they feel neglected and they've moved out. So maybe for you, you need to work on the value of erotic touch, the value of erotic connection. And if you have a block there, maybe you need to see a therapist, maybe a trauma therapist, if you have trauma in your background that's blocking you, or maybe you haven't bought into the value of physical intimacy for a relationship and for a marriage. So as you can see, the examples can go on, and it's going to be based on the list that your partner provides you. Because it's not wise for them to move back in with you until you can prove to them you have mastered this list. You're working on it, you're investing in it, you're becoming better at it. When they see you mastering the list, that's going to give them hope. That's going to show them that you care. That's going to show them that you're a new person. You've become a better version of yourself, that you've taken their concerns seriously. And then they're going to need to see you sustaining those changes over time. When someone gets a separation, normally it's at least for 3 months because they're so fed up with your behavior, they're so frustrated, they're so overwhelmed that they're not going to give you a chance overnight. And that 3 months, 3 to 6 months, that gives you a chance to master this list and then to show your partner you are sustaining the gains. When you can show them, I have sustained the gains over 3 months, over 6 months, guess what happens? They pivot. And they're way more likely to then give you a second chance. And that's what you want. That is how you can save your marriage during a separation. Those are 4 steps. Number 1, don't smother them. Number 2, don't push them for timelines. Number 3, ask for a list of changes they need to see in you. And number 4, master the list. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the episode today, be sure to leave a review and click the share button to share this episode with one other person. And remember to receive my free training on how to move your relationship from surviving to thriving. The link is in the show notes. And remember, your marriage is alive. If you care for it and nurture it, it will grow. If you deprive it and neglect it, it will wilt and die. The choice is up to you. Take care.